Good day, everyone. I am Alexander Casilla, PhD mathematics student. So this slide presenting the racism as one of the ethical issues on racial prejudices and discrimination. So secondly, school as the source of racism, and lastly, the community as a socializing agent that transmits culture. So what is racism? So according to Torrey 2013, the conscious or unconscious belief that a particular race is superior to another. Ginny Laprance and Quinteros 2006 expanded the definition of racism as any attitude, action, or inaction which subordinates a person or a group because of her, his race, color, or ethnicity. So racism is the systematic mistreatment experienced by the people of color. And then the consequences of racism are first, the superior race obviously exercises the power over and dominates one's considered the inferior. And secondly, the racist act and norms affecting both the attitude and the behavior of the people and the group. There are two levels of racism, the systematic and interpersonal racism. So systematic racism, also called the structural or institutional racism. So the racism that exists across a society with and between institutions, organizations across society. So here are some examples of systematic racism. So first, the housing discrimination. So an illegal practices of discriminating against buyer or renters of dwelling based on race, color, or ethnicity. Next is the social segregation. So these are the separation of groups of people with different characteristics, often take to connote a condition of inequality. Then the predatory banking, so the practices of denying or increasing the cost of services in terms of banking to the resident in specific areas, often based on race, color, or the ethnicity. Next is the racial profiling. So the use of race or ethnicity as a ground for suspecting someone of having committed an offense or an crime. So katulad nung nangyari kay Archie of American's Got Talent. So he imprisoned for 37 years because of his color. He is suspecting that he committed a crime. Then the mandatory minimum sentences. So ito yung sasabi natin unequal outcomes for equal offenses or equal outcomes for unequal offenses. So for example, so according to United States Sentencing Commission from 2012 to 2016, the black male received sentences about 20% longer than similar situated white males. Next is access to healthcare. So racial and ethnic minorities may have face challenges in having access to the medical care in the United States before. So when they receive it, their care may not be equivalent to that other group. Next is hiring or promotion practices. So these are the discriminating in employment based on race, color, or national origin. So kahit qualified ka sa posisyon na yon, kung hindi ka kakulay nila, so pwedeng hindi ka i-hire, hindi ka i-promote. Then the government surveillance. So they invade the privacy of other group. So they are spying on people's everyday lives because for them, so yung iba sa kanila, ang tingin nila is sometimes is a threat or a criminal. When the interpersonal racism is also called individual racism or personally mediated racism. It occurs between individual and is what most people think of when using the term racism. And some examples of interpersonal racism are uh, telling a racist joke, then crossing the street to avoid passing the black man, and believing in the inherent superiority of the white people. Now let's have the school as the source of racism. Education or the school as the source of racism. So historical facts are presented according to each nation's interests and not as they really took place. Now this is the case. History has so many phases, and the narration and description of these phases always depend on the side of the people writing it. As Winston Churchill once said, history will be kind to me as I intend to write it. That's one source of racism discriminating what really was. Next, distorted views on certain races are promoted and received. Misunderstood views are another source of racism. When one says black people are criminal and life threat, the tendency is to treat everyone with the character as one, when in reality, many of them are humble and kind. Last, the incapability of forming right behavioral standard in a social group. In other words, unable to fit in. There are reality individuals who express themselves differently from other, and racism occurs when people see themselves as uh, the one in standard. This racism can affect the student physically, mentally, and emotionally. It also affects the student's growth and development. In response to this, the Department of Education mandated the memorandum such as DepEd Memo number 533 series of 2008, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to abolish such discrimination. And according to Department of Education, discrimination should have no place in society. So kaya makikita natin especially in elementary and secondary, so merong mga signage na avoid bullying, the school is friendly zone, and the like. Unlike without racism, the student can smile at the school because they feel safe, they enthusiastic, and they feel that they are belong. Culture represents a collection of attitudes, values, beliefs, and behavioral scripts that are generally agreed upon by a group of individuals. It can include everything from language, marriage practices, and governmental configuration to definition of family greetings, behavior, housing structure, and death rituals, to name a few. So now let's have the socializing agents that transmit culture. So agent of socialization are groups of people or individuals that train new members of society. Agents of socialization teach new members the social norms, values, and social skills of the society. They are the mostly people or group that influence our concept, behavior, and other orientation towards life. People learn the skills necessary to become proficient member of the society by interacting with different agents of socialization. And one of the agents of socialization is the neighborhood or the community. Neighborhood or the community. So the neighborhood is the geographically localized community within a larger city or town. A neighborhood is usually generated through social interaction. So it is true that we adapt or transmit culture by interacting other people. So every family lives in a community. This provide the base for an individual to extend social relation interaction beyond the narrow limits of the home. This is particularly true of the villagers where there is much more interaction among the various families. In this view, it is only natural that the community should play an important role in influencing the process of transmitting culture. So the neighborhood, such as our uncles or aunties, are a source of social learning. So it is more if the member of the families of the community had been living together for a long time. In a way, the neighborhood community can be regarded as a primary agency of socialization next to the importance of the home. So apart from one's own parent, so adult in the neighborhood also exert an influence in shaping of the social behavior of the group of the child. So, as all parents know, some neighborhoods are better for their wards than others. This common sense evaluation derived from sociological research. So, the sociologists have also discovered the resident of a wealthy neighborhood what chest out for their children more than those the poor parents. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.